Welcome to the SmackDown Podcast. We are your hosts, Kyle and Rob Roode, your one-stop shop for all your WWE main show recaps, reviews, predictions. Some people, they like to cover NXT and 205 Live. Some others, maybe New Japan and Ring of Honor. Not us. We don't have time, honestly. Raw and SmackDown it is for now. However, folks, if you catch us, we will be covering AEW because, of course, we're going to cover that.
I spent $50. I spent it, and I'm going to watch it.
Me too. If you're watching us on YouTube, or if you need to find us on YouTube, you can search for us at the SmackDown Podcast in the YouTube search bar. Make sure if you're watching us there, hit like, subscribe. I do understand that we are kind of bare bones when you look at it, but that's got to be some of the appeal, because later on when we're a big podcast, how cool would it be to say, I've been watching these guys since the beginning.
Yeah.
So once again, make sure you subscribe, hit like, share with your friends, help the channel grow as we learn to grow with you guys. Otherwise, you can listen to us on Podbeam at smashrawpod.podbeam.com.
SmackDrawPod, not Smash.
SmackDraw, excuse me. SmackDrawPod. There's the first botch of the night.
It happens. It's all fun.
Or you can follow Rob. He kind of manages our Twitter account, and he's got. You can follow us at SmackDrawPod, or you can follow Rob at
2 words. Can't see me.
And that's 2 TWO and C with just the letter C. Or you can follow me on Twitter at The Kai Tai Show. Tonight we're covering Raw. Rob, what'd you think of the show, man?
I thought it was good overall. I say it every episode. I'm optimistic, and I look at things from a better light. I try to enjoy it for what it is.
I don't think you had to be too optimistic. Raw was pretty good, man.
It was. A lot of people,
solid.
A lot of people try to find the bads of it, and I thought it
we
was
got
good.
Brock. We got Brock in the boombox. Okay.
Oh my God, it's so amazing! It's the best meme ever. Like,
dude,
I made
that is
one.
just Twitter gold, dude. If you want some follows, just dub some music to Brock Lesnar with that boombox. You will get some follows and retweets. That's for sure.
It's like an unofficial contest going on right now. Who's gonna do the best one? I did Gin and Juice today.
Song.
Just saying, it syncs up so well.
Oh yeah, Gin and Juice. I saw that, dude. That was so good. Oh man. Yeah, we also had we had Brock Lesnar out there wondering what he's going to do with his newly won Money in the Bank briefcase. We had a couple title changes. We'll get into that as well. And we had a kick-ass main event to go with it too. I mean, there wasn't much else you could ask for. There was some good matches. There was some progression of story. There was comedy. So I mean, I think Raw was the total package this week, man. I don't think you have to be optimistic. Honestly, if you were hating on Raw, what's wrong with you? Why are you so angry all the time, man? Get off Twitter for a couple days. Well, actually, hold on. Let's not insult the people on Twitter. You guys are all... I'm just saying, sometimes it's easy to complain on Twitter. But anyways, the show opened with, we got promo Brock Lesnar. Like I said, he debuted with his Money in the Bank briefcase, jamming out like it was a boombox. That was pretty sick.
We got crazy boos, though. Oh, my God, that crowd.
Yeah. At first, I thought it was stupid, but by the second time he was doing it, I was like, okay, I'm noticing I'm smiling now. Like, I can't be angry and smile at the same time. So I was like, I didn't know what to do, man. I was confused. I was like, I don't like this, do I? And I'm still not sure.
Now, one thing I did get from the start of this segment is... people don't like Brock Lesnar, and I see why, but it could be worse. We could get Brock Lesnar without Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman is golden on the microphone. Like, oh my God. Even if you don't want to see Brock, like, I'm like, what's this guy got to say? Like, he's like, Paul Heyman, Brock Lesnar. Like, it's amazing.
Oh, they are, dude. They're very with each other. They have a great dichotomy, and they're so compatible. When Brock didn't have a mouthpiece, boy, it was a struggle to get through his segments. I'm telling you.
Valid.
So I mean, yeah, him and Heyman are a great couple. The only thing that worries me is Brock's not going to do this forever, but managers have a longer life expectancy in the pro biz than actual in-ring performers. But Heyman's going to be, kind of typecasted as Brock's mouthpiece. I think it would be harder now to pair him up with anyone else. Now, granted, if it's done right, it's good.
It's just going to be harder to do it.
Yeah, it would just be harder, and we'd be more at risk of getting some strange bedfellow pairings instead of where they really add to each other's strengths.
Page with Kabuki girls type management.
It wouldn't surprise me if they just put him in some comedy act. Vince forces him to manage Heath Slater, and everything Heath Slater does makes Heyman cringe. That's probably what we would get from it. Is more or less Heath Slater pissing Heyman off instead of Heyman building up the next big thing. But yeah, the segment opens with Heyman out doing his Heyman thing for Brock Lesnar. Teasing when are they going to cash in, Lesnar's jamming out on his boombox. Out comes Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is saying, hell with waiting, let's have a match now. Heyman says, nah, fam, we're going to make you wait. And then says, who even says we're going to cash in on you? And this prompts wild card of the night, first one, Kofi Kingston to come out. And Kofi's like, I want to add to my legacy.
Before we move on to Kofi, I do got to plug the joke that Seth said.
The what?
The joke that Seth said about Brock. Basically, Paul's like, oh, we're going to cash in and blah, 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 blah. Basically, Seth looked at Brock and was like, how are you going to be a champion? You were never around to be a champion.
It's true, man.
I had to throw that plug out there. I mean, I honestly feel since he cut his MMA contract or whatever, he's not doing that no more.
Kind of like if a tree falls in the woods and no one's around to hear it, is Brock still the champ?
That's valid. I think he's gonna be around more. That's stirring off topic. We'll
see.
We'll stay
on
topic. See. But I had to plug that joke. Oh my god, you were never around to be a champ.
Or he could be around till Super Showdown, win the belt, and then we'll never see him.
So so Paul Heyman, he dropped the joke back on Seth talking about waiting around to see a champ. So Paul Heyman says, was it kind of like waiting around 7 hours to see your girlfriend in the main event?
So that their relationship's canon now, it's actually legit in the story.
Right, it made it to the stage.
Oh, man, that was good. Twitter definitely got a lot of mention between Raw and SmackDown over the last 2 days. Twitter's getting more and more of a spotlight on the show. And we'll see if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I think it'll be good if it's done right, but I think also it could be super lame. But well, anyways, yeah, Heyman says, who says we're going to cash in on you? Kofi comes out. Kofi starts, cutting his promo saying, I want to add to my legacy. I want to go down as one of the best ever. And if I want to do that, I need to get a win over the Beast. So Kofi starts asking Brock to cash in. And then Paul Heyman chimes in and was like, look, you got your two current champs auditioning for a shot at the Beast. Valid. Which at that point I realized it, and I was like, oh, God, I don't know if I like that. But we'll see.
Right.
Because, these guys are the top guys. Top guys shouldn't be calling out, shouldn't be fighting over who their opponent should be. Because then it just makes the opponent seem larger than the guy that you have the championship title with.
I think that's the boil down of why Brock got the spot.
Yeah, but anyways, Heyman hits the good line. I think he said, you got the undisputed champion heavyweight. He threw out heavyweight on both of them, which I'm surprised because if behind the scenes Vince doesn't like heavyweight being in the name for whatever reason. He said you got the Universal Heavyweight Champion in Seth Rollins, and then you got the WWE Heavyweight Champion in Kofi Kingston. But then he says you've got the box office Heavyweight Champion in Brock Lesnar, signifying that he's the ratings draw between the three of them, which is a good line. It's a good way to build up your guy. I just don't like Brock in the title picture.
I don't know how valid that is, but
But yeah, we'll see. Time will tell, man. Time will tell.
Brock really doesn't draw. There was actually a tweet. I think it's at WWE Simpsons. They do Simpsons memes mixed.
Would you want to go to a show more if you heard Brock was there?
No, I would not.
There's no shame in saying yeah. I think I would just to see him, but I think I'd buy the ticket regardless.
I don't know exactly. I said it last episode. you're not going to make me want to go. I can do with or without you. I'm on board with him having the briefcase, and I'm curious to see where it's going to go. But you're not going to draw me. But, like I was just saying, like, at the Simpsons wrestling Twitter, like, it's an amazing account. I think it's at WWE Simpsons. They do wrestling memes mixed with Simpsons. They took Brock Lesnar coming out, and then they found a clip of Bart and Lisa turning off their television.
Saw that.
And then they had Brock climbing a ladder, and then it was Milhouse turning off his television.
It was everybody shutting the TV off when they saw Brock.
And it's like,
and that was your guttural response too. I mean, you can't lie.
Valid. Yeah. And that would have been my response. Like I said last episode, I fell asleep. I didn't get to see it. That would have been my response. But sleeping on it, that changes my response. Going off track again. Let's get back on track.
No. You raise a good point, because it's something that I was thinking about too, compared to when, like, my initial feelings when won, and then by the time Raw rolled around, and I realized that the culture nowadays for the well-informed fan is a very reactionary culture, and a lot of people, will react to their gut feeling on something, and then kind of like, I don't know if that's always the most valid point of view, to steal one of your phrases, being that is, I don't know if that always is, because like I said, when I initially saw it, I agree with that gift. I kind of wanted to turn my TV off, and I'm happy it was the last match of the night. I'm not saying I would have shut it off, but I mean, I was ready to stop watching the product at that point.
Right, like if it was in the middle, they would have lost viewers.
Possibly, yeah, absolutely. I truly think so too. I think if that match had gone on in the middle of the, I wouldn't be surprised if come the end of the pay-per-view there was a significant amount of less people watching the product than what we finished with it being at the end of the night on that card. But one thing, like I said, getting back to what I was saying, is how we're so reactionary to like these story roles and stuff, and airing our grievances, and then even sometimes finding support in certain things. I found myself, 24 hours sleeping on it before I crapped all over it. And I really hope I didn't crap on Twitter. I may have. I don't think I did, though. Because the next day, I've come around to it somewhat. I mentioned in the last podcast, I've come around. It's not the worst thing in the world. I'm not happy about it, but it's not the worst thing. And, it provided some good gifts. So, I don't know. I mean, I guess that's my take. It's easy to get angry, but, like you said, you're an optimist. Give us some time, lighten up. Hopefully it'll grow on us, He was going to say, if that's not the case, then we got some competitors coming up.
It's bound to get better. Even if you don't like it, it's bound to get better. I mean,
I think it has to.
It's not going to be crap forever. That's the way I look at it.
But anyways, segment ends. Nothing happens. Brock and Heyman leave. They did drop the little note that says, hey, we're not going to fly out right away. We're going to stick around for your match. Who knows? We might pop up again.
We will be here at the end of the night, so stay tuned for a cash-in.
Yeah, stay tuned. Yeah, we ain't going nowhere. Afterwards, we get a match set up between Braun Strowman and Sami Zayn. Sami being already beat up from the night beforehand. Sami runs into the crowd. He asked Bobby Lashley to help him out, which I thought was silly, because had you been watching when Bobby Lashley debuted, they were in one of the worst feuds ever. And I don't mean worse like blood feud. I mean worse like worst written feuds. But either way, they were feuding the last time they were seen together. Now Sami Zayn is asking Lashley to help him out. Well, Lashley distracts Braun Strowman. Sami, instead of doing the smart thing, which is pack your bags, go home, and don't turn around, instead comes in and cold cocks Strowman. But it wasn't enough. They eventually get back to the ring. Sami does some dancing around. Strowman does his usual run into the ring post, but not enough to detract him. He gets the power slam on Sami. 1, 2, 3. It was done.
Major squash.
Yeah. It was like a long squash.
Right.
We then get the repeat from Money in the Bank with Lars Sullivan and the Lucha House Party, except the roles were reversed. Sullivan was in the middle of the ring being interviewed when Lucha House Party jumped him. They had the upper hand for a second, but Strowman was turning it around. It ended when, I want to say, Lars was looking to powerbomb Lince Dorado, but Grand Metalik and Kalisto were able to kind of pull him out of harm's way, and they were able to scurry and live another day. And this looks like it's going to be a feud. Going back and forth. We're probably going to see Lucha House Party get squashed probably 2 or 3 more times by Sullivan, and that's it.
Which I said in last episode, I don't like it. I want to see Lars squash like a Big Show or a Strowman. I mean, come on, fight somebody your own size. I mean, there is 3 of the Luchador Party guys, but they're little tiny luchadors, man. Like, they're not tiny guys, but you get what I'm saying. They're little guys.
You could have him get a win. You know, Big Show usually helps build other big men now.
Right.
That's what he's done for a while. Usually the big guys will get, matched up with the biggest guy to do it, being Big Show. And then they'll have a good match. Show can still put on an entertaining match and get the win over him. Honestly, it's so early with Sullivan. We might be predicting the future because I wouldn't be surprised.
Right. Like at first, really Sullivan was like, "You got to build a beast. They want this guy to be like this super duper beast."
That's always the beginning.
You did that. Like we know that he's a big beast douchebag, and now he's fighting like these little luchador guys, and it's over and over. What are we gaining from this?
Wait, what's the reason for them in particular? Beating up everybody. Just like the Lucha House Party. Although, to make it fair, I think he only jumped them, like, he only attacked them once, and then they jumped him here. So maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe it was just them trying to get
it was 2 nights in a row, and I didn't want to see it.
Yeah, that's probably the thing. Like, it was 2 nights in a row.
I don't want to see this big, gumpy dude fighting these little luchador guys. I mean...
Right. Afterwards, though, we got, in a lot of opinions, was the match of the night. We got Ricochet and Cesaro. Cesaro finally got his own music. This match was...
I don't like it. I just want to throw that out.
No?
There. It's not that I don't like it. I like his old music better. Because I'm big on like WWE music. I have like a playlist on Spotify and everything.
You're talking his music he had with Sheamus, right?
Yes, with the sirens.
Okay, so that wasn't his music. That was... What they did was when they were a tag team...
That was Sheamus' music?
Yeah, so what they did was they had Cesaro's original was like a mix between Dean Malenko's and like 007. And then Sheamus's is what you're used to hearing.
Okay.
And when they formed a tag team, they would have Cesaro's entrance, the beginning of his theme, but then lead into Sheamus's music because that was the better one.
Oh, okay.
So you can't have Sheamus, arguably retire and then Cesaro take over his theme.
Okay.
They had to come out, and I think it fits him. I do. This match was set up when Ricochet was being checked out in the back by the sports trainer, and Cesaro came in.
And Cesaro was calling him a baby.
Yeah, exactly, picking on him essentially. And then Ricochet falls into the trap and was like, well, I'm good enough to have a match with you, which, dude, it's Cesaro. No, the hell you ain't. You got to be 100% if you're going to take on Cesaro. I'm sorry, man. But they ended up having an insane match.
It was
one point, Cesaro tries to do his elevated uppercut. He tosses Ricochet into the air, but instead of Ricochet falling into the uppercut, he lands standing upright on Cesaro's shoulders. And then Cesaro pushing him off, Ricochet does a backflip, lands on his feet. I think he follows it up with a Hurricanrana, but be honest, I was too busy losing my mind to that one spot. I forgot almost everything that followed it, just because it was freaking amazing. But ultimately, Cesaro's injuries are too much to overcome. And he gets taken out by the Gotch neutralizer. If you guys haven't seen the show, if you're going to watch anything from Raw, I would say it's going to be a toss-up between this and then the new title that was revealed. Those are the two things. But for in-ring quality, you've got to see this match. It was awesome. Afterwards... Oh, actually, did you have any takes on it before I get on to the next one?
No, you covered it. I mean, the match was amazing. There was flipsy doozies, and Ricochet did his thing, and then I mean, that's good. That's really all I got on that one. You covered it all.
He did his flippy stuff. He did his thing.
That's about it. I mean,
and we got the shot of the night. Baron Corbin provoking AJ Styles, who was in the middle of an interview. And you ruined this for me, but it was still good. During when Baron Corbin interviews AJ Styles, getting his generic interview like, you lost, but you look good. What's up next for you? Well, in the middle of AJ pushing himself, Baron Corbin interrupts him. And then he says that the fact that he even had the match was a slap in the face. And AJ Styles retorts with, he's like, that wasn't a slap in the face. But if you want to know what a slap in the face is, this is one, and he slaps the shit out of him.
I was so happy. That's why I ruined it for you. I'm like, no, that slap.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, man. It sucks. Like, I love watching the show with you, but yeah, sometimes, although that wasn't a bad spoiler. I'm not going to lie. I saw it coming anyways. But yeah, that was good. Anyways, Corbin smiles from it. Instead of a brawl ensuing, Corbin kind of just gives a smirk and says, "You'll pay for that one." And he goes off, and it was good. You used Corbin correctly there.
Yes.
Anyways, next up we get Roman Reigns out, cutting his promo, only to be interrupted by Shane McMahon. Apparently, this is going to be the feud going into the. What's it, the Super Showdown?
Yes. The one that's going to be better than WrestleMania.
Yeah.
That one.
God. You guys, that's just desperate. Well, don't throw WrestleMania under the bus for this. Come on.
Undercut yourself when it's not working.
Right, exactly, man. Say it'll be better than Double or Nothing. Just fucking be ballsy.
Right.
Call AEW. It won't.
This is better than everything we have except WrestleMania.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's gonna be better than whatever those new guys starting. But yeah, right. I know. I don't believe that thing. Hey, they could have tried it. Anyways,
Shane's music hits.
Shane's music hits. He comes out and he's like, "Hey, now that I'm done with the Miz, you punched my dad, so we're gonna fight." And then Roman says, "Cool, let's fight." Shane's like, "Cool, just not now. I'm gonna bring out Drew McIntyre." So Drew McIntyre is just the interchangeable henchman. It's pretty much just it's like a rotating door between.
He's a bodyguard out of nowhere.
It's pretty much like Baron Corbin, Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley are all kind of like interchangeable, just generic bad guy, bodyguard, multi-purpose heel. You know what I mean? Like, oh, we need a heel here. Just insert one of these three.
Unless you're Sami Zayn, then you don't get,
Yeah, Sami Zayn, he's the lovable dickbag that gets beat up all the time, unfortunately. No, I'm just kidding. I love Sami Zayn.
He is.
I really want good things, man, for him. I do. Just right now, he's kind of a dickbag.
He's getting beat up, man.
He is getting beat up a lot, man. He needs to bust out a couple haluva kicks. But anyways,
McIntyre's bodyguard. They're talking.
Yeah, Drew McIntyre's the bodyguard. They set up a match for later, essentially, and that's pretty much it for the promo. Nothing big here, other than just to push forward the new feuds and people's new roles and stuff like that for these guys. Next up, we get what turned my opinion around on the Usi segment, because the Revival and the Usos were allowed to have a good match, and that's what I wanted. Dude, if you give me this, I can forgive the cheesy comedy shit.
That wasn't cheesy. That was amazing. That was amazing comedy.
It was still cheesy, okay? There's no shame in saying it was awesome and cheesy. All right.
Now, talking about the Usos, I want to say it again. I thought the damn belts were on the line on the pre-show, but they were not on the line.
You must have been heartbroken, man.
I was. I marked out. Like I said, it was in the background, but I seen the ending coming, so I paid attention to the TV, and for the 3 count, I was like, yes! And then I went back onto my chores that I had to finish before Money in the Bank happened. And also, I want to throw it out there, guys. I tweeted this. The Usos were fighting Brian and Rowan. And now I have a 9-year-old daughter who's watching wrestling with me, here and there. She's not she's into it, but she's not there with me all the time. She'll play with her dolls and whatever. But she knows the stories that are going on. They were showing the countdown for the Money in the Bank. 13 minutes left till Money in the Bank or whatever. She looked at me and she goes, "What happens if they don't end this match before Money in the Bank starts?" I was stumped. I was like, she doesn't know it's fake yet. What do I do here? And like Twitter chimed in and was like, time draw. But it's been so long since we've had time matches. I didn't even think that.
Yeah, she put you on the spot there with that logic.
That's what I ended up telling her. I said the match is timed. If time runs out, then it's a draw. It's a tie.
See, us who are used to, we don't even consider that.
But I was
they should do that.
I was like, I would have rather you ask me where the babies come from right now. Like, I'll never forget the moment that my mom told me wrestling's fake. I was like, no, it's not. She goes, how do you know when it ends? I was like, oh. I was more crushed than when I found out Santa Claus was fake, man.
Oh my goodness.
So like when she's like, when does it or what happens if it doesn't end? I flashed back to when my mom spoiled it for me. I was like, what do I do right now? What do I do?
You can't expose the business, man.
Right. If you're gonna naturally find out, then by all means let's talk about it. But I'm not gonna tell you. Oh man.
I wonder how old I was. Like I want to say I went into 4th grade, and I kind of knew it was staged, but I felt like there was still real elements. Like I knew it wasn't like real fighting. I was able to take that out of it, but I swore like there was some real stuff happening too that was kind of bleeding into it. And I don't know. I was like halfway there. I don't know whenever it was fully on board like, hey, this is scripted pretty much top to bottom. I don't remember when that day happened, so don't do that to your girl.
Nope, I will not.
Let her find out.
She will find out, and she will tell me, and we will talk about it. But I will not look her in the eye like my mom did to me and say, "You know it's fake, right?"
Yeah. Well, anyways, the Revival and the Usos have more than happy. It ended when Scott Dawson rolled up Jimmy Uso and grabbed a handful of tights. The ref didn't notice, and he got the 1, 2, 3. He got a win. Which is what they needed. It was great, and I was super happy for them because they needed a no-nonsense, just great match, and it did it for me, and it kind of undid some of the stuff that I was complaining about previous.
Now, speaking of the Revival, I have it in my notes to ask you. Speaking of wrestling being fake, I know the Revival's contract is coming up, and they denied the new contract. Do we know when their contract's up? Do we know how much longer we get them?
So from what I gather, at least one of their contracts, it goes to 2020.
Oh, okay.
So if they're going to appear for other promotions like AEW or Ring of Honor or even New Japan, would probably love to have them. It won't be till sometime next year.
Right. Okay. I thought it was like soon.
Yeah, because they asked for their release and they're too hot of a commodity.
Right.
Even though they don't get used, in my opinion, properly, there is value to them. Obviously, they're on the show every week. You know, they are on Raw every week. They're doing something with them every week. You know, so yeah. But I mean, if they were going to leave, it's not going to be till next. We got Firefly's Funhouse next, and this. I don't know what you think, man. I liked it, but at the same time, I wanted more.
Right, like the intro was amazing, and like I actually texted you, and I was like, "This is amazing," because it was the normal
and a bunch of like
happy, fun, go lucky,
with like "Let me in" like written on them. Oh, dude, I was so unnerved looking at children with like people like with handwriting on them.
Yes, it was hurting. But then they like I just said, I even texted you. I'm like, bro, this intro. Oh my god, it's dark now, and it's bleeding into being dark. And they needed to bleed it into Bray Wyatt standing in the house with the Slipknot mask on, but they didn't.
Yeah, man.
I'm like,
it's an awesome mask.
So like, I was mad that they didn't give us more, but at the same time, it served its purpose. Like, now next week I want even more than I wanted more this week, if that makes sense. Like. The way they left us hanging. I want more, and I want more before he debuts. I said that on a couple episodes ago or whatever. I want at least one more episode before we see him in person.
Yeah, me too. I want to see more of him. I could still go for another couple segments. I don't think it would ruin it, but once again, harking back to what I said previously, got to pull the trigger soon. Yes. I don't want to see more than a month's worth of segments. I would say by mid to the end of June, hopefully Bray has done something.
Right.
But we'll see. We'll see.
At least one more segment. I'd be okay with one more, and then bring them out real life. Boom, done.
Yeah, man. Oh, me too. I'm more than ready. Afterwards, we got the moment of bliss. Becky Lynch, not Becky Lynch is the guest, but it's hosted by Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross.
Yeah,
they're out
excited.
interviewing Becky. You know, Alexa's putting on the condescending act. Becky's lost one of the belts. Before they could get too much into it, they're interrupted by your girls.
Before all that, I have to throw it out there that Alexa Bliss was talking shit to Nikki Cross, and because I'm the Cross stand, like I caught this. She was. I gave you my spot, Money in the Bank, and you lost, and blah blah blah. This angered me. Like I have it right here in my notes. Nikki Cross will eat you. Like she will eat you in a match. Like, like
there's probably something good to ask our viewers. Like, what do you think is she really Alexa Bliss's?
You say that again. You cut out.
Like, we should ask our viewers what they think Nikki Cross's real role is here. Is she Alexa Bliss's lackey and she's really just an underling and gonna get walked on, or do you think she's a step ahead of the game? And do you think that she knows that Alexa Bliss is trying to use her and put her down, and is Nikki really the one with the upper hand? So if you guys got any thoughts on that, go ahead and let us know on Twitter or in the comment section. Let us know where you think Nikki Cross really stands here.
Yeah, I think she's just playing the sidekick. Like, oh, this is Alexa Bliss. I'm going to do what she asks. But I think
I'm leading on lackey too.
It's leading into she's going to come around and be like, I'm not your bitch. Like,
right
now I'm going to go in the ring.
I'd like to think that she's a step ahead, but I don't think.
No,
I think it's going to be more of the whole abuse me until I snap role.
Yes, go ahead, keep abuse her more so she snaps. I get my girl stomping you at a pay-per-view.
He's going to stomp her, yeah. If Iconics come out, they're cutting jokes on Becky, calling her, can we call her Becky 2 belts, you know, and Becky 1 belt doesn't have a ring to it. And they're getting into their roast party, and so Lacey Evans comes out.
But you can't miss the joke where Becky told the Iconics she'll take him to the ring and become Becky 3 belts. As much as I love my Iconics, like if I had to pick the Iconics or Becky Lynch, I would pick the Iconics. I absolutely love the Iconics, but that was
technically, you know, it really should be Iconics win in a handicap, but you know the way Becky would really beat him. But
yes, but that was great. I'll become Becky 3 belts right now.
Jesus Christ. Well, anyways, I thought this was charming. I thought this was clever. Good use of Becky's character. Becky says, "I'll take all 3 of you on," referring to Iconics and Lacey Evans, and they started giving her crap about it, and she's about how she's outnumbered. So she's like, cool, I'll have Nikki help me. And then they still give her crap. And this was like probably my favorite line that stuck out to me the most. They said, "You're still down 1 person." She's like, "Fine, Alexa Bliss will come in." And Alexa said, "Nah." And Becky Lynch cut her off. And she's like, "No, you go ahead and just stand on the ring and look pretty."
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God. Do what you do and look pretty.
She just stood outside of the ring drinking coffee the whole match.
Oh, yeah. Alexa Bliss playing into it, brought the coffee down. But Becky legit, I love it when they do her correctly and play to her strengths, because she does have like that smart mouth, and when she's clever, it's gold. Because like had I been drinking anything, when she said stand outside the ring and look pretty, I would have spit out whatever I was drinking, dude, when I heard that. Match went good. Ultimately, it was a 3-on-2 because Alexa Bliss was a non-entity there. It really came down just to Becky and Nikki. Evans walked out on her partners near the end of the match.
Oh, she did, and it kind of made me sad.
Yeah, just like Alexa Bliss, and that kind of let the momentum swing over to Lynch and Nikki. Lynch earned the win over after a second rope leg drop. onto Billie Kay.
Onto Billie, yes. And
yeah.
I keep saying it, guys. I'm the optimist. I don't complain about what WWE does, no matter how bad it is. But
it was like a no-win situation.
Well, I mean, like not even the match. Like I just said, I don't look at the negatives. And I do love the Iconics, but this has nothing to do with me loving the Iconics. Your Iconics ate another pin. That's the problem. Your women's tag team champions ate another pin. Do they even have a successful defender? Like, have they defended the belts?
Not only that, you had 6 women in there that none of them needed a pin.
Yes.
You had the Iconics who were getting pinned way too much when you're trying to build up these new titles. You had Lacey Evans, who obviously you're trying to get some momentum behind and make her a big deal. Yes. Becky Lynch is the obvious. You don't want the champ getting pinned. And then you have Alexa Bliss coming back from her injury. You don't want to see her eat losses. And then Nikki Cross, too, you kind of is the only one you could argue to get pinned. But even then you don't want to because of the swell of support that she's receiving. So it's kind of like you had 6 women in there, which it was going to look bad no matter who got pinned.
So you take Lacey and she walks out on the Iconics and she brushes Alexa Bliss walking out, and Alexa Bliss gets pissed and throws her coffee at Lacey. DQ ending. Nobody eats a pin. That's what I was getting at. I don't complain about what they do. I really don't. But the fact that the Iconics are eating pins and they don't have a title defense, they weren't at the pay-per-view. You got your women's tag teams eating
What are you
pins.
doing with the champs, man?
Right. Like, why? Okay, I'll move on. Like I said, I don't complain, but that right there.
No.
Why are your Iconics eating
completely
pins?
valid, dude. Yeah. I agree with a lot of they would agree with you too. Absolutely. But after that, of course, ultimately, like I said, Lynch earned the win for her team. We got to see probably the most ugliest title I've ever seen. But don't get me wrong, I love it now. Like, I've had time to sleep on it, and this was the best thing on Raw. Mick Foley comes out. And the question has been, what title is he going to unveil? We have ideas like the female intercontinental title. You have the hardcore championship, just to name a couple. And so we're all kind of wondering, what's he got? He comes out, he starts cutting a promo talking about the belt's going to be defended 24/7. The belt's going to be cross-brand. And I'm like, holy crap, WWE is about to pull out the hardcore title. Right? And he's like, the belt, he pulls it out, and he announces it as the WWE's 24/7 title or championship. And it has got to be the most plain, like, jotted up design within 4 minutes. Like,
my wife my wife is like huge on Facebook. She watches wrestling with me once in a while. She didn't watch Raw with me, but she's got a Facebook friend that always tweets wrestling. So she's always asking me, he tweeted this, what's your take? Whatever, blah 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 blah. She asked me if I seen the Ninja Turtle sewer cat title. I was absolutely dying. It's so valid. It's green and it looks like a freaking sewer cap.
I've seen it compared to like old-timey gas station signs,
right? Like an old record. It looks like an old record from the 50s.
I feel bad for Mick because this obviously the flack it got. I think the majority of it comes from the aesthetics of the championship belt. Not to mention when Mick unveiled that title,
there was no pop.
I've never heard, dude, the air got sucked out of the room worse than when Brock pulled down the Money in the Bank.
Yes.
And then the boos started coming in, and it was just because it was an ugly belt. Yes. It overshadowed the whole thing. Mick did drop an interesting line. The belt is advertised he did mention the belt can be defended on Raw, SmackDown, 205 Live, NXT, NXT UK, and Legends were the people he said were eligible to win the belt. But But then he said, it's going to kick off the third hour of Raw every week. And that seemed kind of weird because it's defended 24/7, but yet it'll be the highlight of the third hour of Raw. So that was the only part that threw me off. But he said he declared that he was going to lay the belt down. A scramble would ensue. Any wrestler in the back who wants this belt, first man to hold it up would be the inaugural champion. And that was that. He goes off to the side of the ring, goes take a seat, and then the entire mid card and lower card of Raw falls out. You had to name a few. We had Mojo Rawley, Eric Young. Jesus.
I don't know. I don't know any of the mid cards, so I couldn't tell you anybody who was out there. I do know Titus Young was out there, right?
You had the undercard. You know what I mean?
Yes.
The jobbers.
No Way Jose was out there.
No Way Jose.
I was kind of hoping he would take the pick. Him and his
hell, Drake Maverick was out there. The freaking the general manager of 205 Live was out there trying to get a piece of the action. We saw a couple things. The first thing that was weird because Mick declared the first person to touch the belt would be declared the champion. And that was actually Carl Anderson of the Good Brothers.
Yes.
Shortly after Luke Gallows got his hands on it, and they kind of had a little tug of war till they got jumped.
Yes, there was a touch before the other touch, and I thought that.
Yeah,
I'm like, that
but then
doesn't count. That should be...
Ultimately, the winner, the inaugural champion, is... Oh, Jesus, man. Go ahead and help me out.
It was Titus Young, wasn't it?
Titus O'Neil. Thank you. Jesus.
Oh, Titus O'Neil. That's what it is. Okay.
Yeah.
And then Mr. Bobby Roode.
Robert Roode.
Yes. Yeah, Roode. I don't know that guy. He came out. He rolled him up on the stage, and he took it.
Man. That mustache is winning them belts, man.
The porn stash.
Yeah. So, Titus O'Neil wins the championship. On the way up the ramp, gets rolled up by Robert Roode. So Titus O'Neil's run as champion was about as long as Charlotte's ninth reign herself. And then the Benny Hill, you can cue the Benny Hill music because it spent the rest of the time of Robert Roode throughout the rest of the evening. We'll just cover it all now, the 24/7 stuff now, so that way we don't have to jump back to it every time it pops on the air. Robert Roode spends the rest of the evening trying to outrun the mob, which was always funny because you have the initial mob, and then it always ended with Drake Maverick just way behind, out of breath. And then on Twitter and on social media, he's been posting video after video. He's handing out flyers. He's looking for that belt. But anyways, it ends at the end of the night. He runs into R-Truth backstage in the carport, and he's like, "You gotta hide me." R-Truth is like, "Cool, I got you." He hides him in the trunk. He misdirects everybody else, and then when he lets Robert Roode out the trunk, he's like, "Hey man, let's go, let's get out of here." When Robert Roode attempts to get in the car,
boom,
it's a referee.
There's a ref coming out of the passenger side.
Hell yes! R-Truth jumps him, gets the 1, 2, 3. R-Truth ultimately ends Monday Night Raw as your 24/7 champion. Let's see if he gets to reign more than 24 hours with the belt. I somehow doubt it. It'd be fun though.
Did you see the selfie he posted with the belt on Twitter?
Calling it the European Championship?
Yes.
Dude, I died. I died laughing so hard. Oh man, it was so good. It was so good. But yeah, so throughout the night, that looks like what it's going to be. Isn't that what you think? They're just going to they'll jump to that championship multiple times throughout the night.
Yeah.
A little segment.
Eventually, they'll be at the grocery store, at the gas station, just like they used to do in the Attitude Era, greatest time of wrestling.
So you watched the Hardcore Championship when it was defended 24/7 by Crash Holt?
Yes. The one that sticks out the most was when was it Gerald Briscoe pinned? I don't remember who had the belt, but he got.
While they were sleeping?
Yes, he got the sleeping pin, and the ref's like, 1, 2, 3.
And they did the silent celebration. No, I was thinking same thing today. I was like, how long until they have a guy get pinned while he's losing?
Right.
I was thinking the same thing.
And then there's the Godfather's hoe snuck the pin in.
She got the pin, and then you can never forget Crash Holly at like Chuck E. Cheese, I think it was.
Oh, they were in the ball pit. Yep.
Like the ball pit and the slides and everything. Oh man, that's why I wasn't mad, because I knew when Mick Foley. So even though the belt was ugly, yes. I knew, I was like, this is going to lead to fun segments.
Yes, like you said, the air was drawn out of the place. It would have got a pop if the belt wasn't ugly. The belt's legit ugly. Like, come on, man. What are you doing?
Like, I'm not mad at the name. I get the name is generic. That's cool. This isn't meant to be a prestigious belt. You know, this is meant to be fun. 24/7 can be fun. They just needed a little bit better of a design. But either way, me remembering all the fun that the Hardcore Championship brought in it gives me faith in this title. Like, this is just going to add fun to the segment. Your cheap laughs, if you like comedy, all that stuff, this is going to be where it comes from, and that's good to know. That's good to know.
And those who listen to us know I love my comedy. I'm all about it.
Yeah. So this is going to get plenty of it. But honestly, it's weird because I'm kind of like hypocritical. I hate comedy in certain areas, but then other. So, anyways, we get Drew McIntyre had a match up next against The Miz. Dude, The Miz looked awesome here. I don't know like how much you remember of this, but like The Miz was like holding his own with Drew McIntyre, and in a realistic, he had to keep hitting first and bringing the fight to Drew instead of making it seem like he could outpower Drew at times. Like, no, like The Miz was hitting counters and was really taking the fight to Drew in this match. I remember like being very impressed with The Miz. But afterwards, of course, though, Shane got in, blindsided The Miz from outside the ring, pretty much like how the Charlotte beat Becky Lynch. It was The Miz was draped out towards the outside. Shane got the cheap shot. By the time Miz got back in the ring, he got Claymore kicked and was taken out. Afterwards, you had Shane about to hit the coast to coast when Roman Reigns came in, saved the day, and that was pretty much it. Ran the heels off. And it was solid, man. It was good. It was good. Doing good for everybody, you know. Not too much to add. Roman ain't being shoved down our throat. McIntyre, you know, we still want better for him, but once again, at least he's on TV every week. They're not forgetting about him. The only thing here is, like, did you know that Shane McMahon has been on every pay-per-view this year?
Yes. Yep, I see that on Twitter.
That kind of...
And then you got the Iconics not being on pay-per-views. The Iconics not defending your newly found women's tag titles. And you got Shane on there, which if Shane wasn't on the pay-per-views, nobody would even notice.
Like, Shane to me has always been a novelty. You know, like, I love watching him, but he's somebody that it's like... It's kind of like too much of a good thing. It's easy to get too much Shane McMahon.
Yes. Once in a while it's cool, but every pay-per-view, like...
If you see it coast to coast every other week, it loses specialness.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, that was the cool thing about Shane was he would hit these crazy spots that you don't expect, but then once you start hitting them regularly and you learn to expect them, and it loses its shine. And then you get resentful, and it's like, yeah, Shane, like, you've been on every pay-per-view. And granted, it ain't your fault. You're not booking it. Right. You know what I mean? But, yeah, it's a little much, man. Just need a little less Shane. I'm not saying him to go away, just a little less.
Right.
You know?
Every other pay-per-view, maybe, you know.
Right.
I must say, though, I meant to say it while we were talking about Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
I was sad that Shane did not hit a coast to coast from the top of the cage. How amazing was that?
From the top of the cage?
Yes, and that's a Shane thing to do. He's always been the high flyer, taking the big giant bumps. But it would have been ratings.
It would have been ratings.
Like, I mean, we talked about that match on our review. Like, it was good, but you had Miz or Shane slid out of his shirt for the win. The highlight of that would have been, did you see that coast to coast from the top of the cage? And I'd still be talking about it, but we didn't get it.
While Shane's in the ICU.
It's all well and good. He won't be on our pay-per-view.
Wakes up to like Vince. Probably Vince would have to be on FaceTime. He ain't gonna show up.
Vince hitting him with a bedpan.
Like, did I do good, Dad? Oh my God, no, that's me.
Oh.
Samoa Joe cut a pre-tape promo afterwards, saying that he should have never lost the United States Championship. He acknowledged his shoulder being up. He said that he's willing to gift Rey Mysterio the opportunity to do the right thing and hand him back the belt or title, because I guess Rey's injured, which technically would be the right thing then. If Rey's injured, then you give the belt back. But
right.
It ain't going to go like that. You can't have the babyface just, here you go, giving the heel back the belt. That would never fly. But he does end the segment with saying, if he doesn't, just imagine he doesn't say that. I meant to say is if he doesn't hand the belt back, just imagine the damage Joe's going to do now.
Right.
And this is probably where Dominic's going to play a role in the whole thing. Is Joe's just going to beat Rey too much, and then maybe that's where we'll see Dominic come out and take over the spotlight. Rumor has it. Yeah, I don't know where I heard it from, but rumor has it Rey wants to pass the mask on to Dominic, like passing of the torch. He's mentioned.
I'd be about it. I mean,
I'd like to see. I mean, obviously they're built different, so they would have to have different styles. Like Dominic would probably only have He'd get like the 619 and maybe the West Coast pop where he like jumps up onto the top rope from the ring apron and does like a splash.
Does a splash, like yeah.
And then probably the frog splash. But I've never seen Dominic wrestle, but posture and everything.
Yeah, judging by his size and his build, like
I don't think he would.
He's not gonna be hitting no Hurricane Ranas.
Yeah, I just can't see it. Hopefully, he proves me wrong. We've seen big men do Hurricane Ranas, and Dominic by far is not the biggest. But right now, I don't know. It'd be cool though. It'd be cool. I'd like to see. I think it would be special. And what if Rey exposes his face? It wouldn't be the first time. No, but it would be a big deal because he hasn't exposed his face on WWE programming.
When he did, it was WCW.
It was WCW.
He was wearing the camouflage pants and.
Yeah, and he was kind of more like the Guerrilla Gangster and stuff. That was Street Gang and stuff. That was popular back then with Conan, or at the time he was like K-Dog and stuff.
Oh, K-Dog, I forgot about him. Man.
Yeah, man. He's still doing it, by the way. Nowadays, he's still doing it, bro.
Nice.
He's always running stables like in the indie circuit. Like he's always. I think he's back in Impact Wrestling, and he runs what's called LAX. Essentially, I haven't watched it, but if I remember correctly, it's kind of like a Latino gang, kind of like just like what Conan or K-Dog looks like. He looks like a Latino gang member,
right? He does too. He does.
Yeah. So he's always.
Somebody mentioned on Twitter the other day, La Parka, back from the WCW era. I guess he's still doing it too.
Dude, people love La Parka now.
It's crazy.
Or L.A. Park,
yeah,
I think is his name.
He shortened his name to L.A. Park.
Right. Like, probably due to copyright. I think WWE owns La Parka.
They posted a picture of him holding a chair about to hit Disco Inferno. I was like, I can't for the life of me remember his name, but I remember him. And then
he's still.
It all came back to me. I'm like, wow.
Never would I have thought looking at him when I was. It'd be like 20 years later, and that
he's still doing it, right? Like he didn't seem like that big of a character, but apparently he was.
Maybe just he's had a resurgence, Well, anyways, from there, we go on to the main event of the evening: Kofi Kingston and Seth Rollins going against Baron Corbin and Bobby Lashley. Faces went over here. It was an all right match. I gotta say, like. You probably would agree. Anytime Baron Corbin's in the main event, it just like tune out, man. It really draws me. I don't want my last match of a 3-hour show to have anything with Baron Corbin in it, and it just seems like it would.
Yes,
it always does.
I agree. I don't like Baron Corbin. I don't like what he's about.
Right.
And my alarm goes off at 3-ish in the morning.
Yeah.
Now, when this match started, it was like 10:30ish. I almost turned it off and went to bed, and I was like, I'm gonna watch it tomorrow on Hulu.
Right.
But if there was a cash in, I wouldn't be able to live with myself.
You had to stay. You had to stay with it, man.
Yeah. So like, I don't even have notes on this match. Like, I won't even. I don't remember what happened. I was half asleep. Well, the only reason I was still awake is because there could have been a cash in.
There could have been a cash in.
If that wasn't a possibility, I wouldn't even have watched this match.
Now, like I said, it was a decent match. I mean, you had the faces facing the heels, healing it up. You know, there was no real, and correct me if I'm wrong, anybody listening to it, there was no spots of notice. All the action kind of came at the end. So it ended when Kofi landed a Trouble in Paradise on Baron Corbin, who got pinned. And then once the match was done, you had Bobby Lashley come back in the ring. He speared both Seth Rollins and Kofi Kingston. Right afterwards, when they're laid out at their weakest and most vulnerable, we get Brock Lesnar's music, right? And Brock Lesnar, you know it's not a cash-in because he's not rushing to the ring. He's just taking his sweet time and plotting and stuff, and it gives Rollins and Kofi time to get back to their feet and you know, and obviously looking, but still being valiant, like, come on. Heyman gets on the mic, says, you know, essentially Brock could do it now, but he's not. And that's where the hook comes in. He says he's not going to cash in now, but tune in next week because we're going to reveal who we're cashing in on. Which leads me to believe, like I said, this is being done to push Super Showdown. If I had to put money down on it, Brock and Heyman are going to come out next week. They're going to challenge Seth to a rematch at Super Showdown. And hopefully Seth wins there and Brock can just fuck off or move on to something else. You know?
Take his boombox and go.
I don't mean to be blunt. I like Brock in my... Get away from the... Bro. Get away from the belts. Go beat up the mid-card. Go get the fucking 24/7 belt for all I care. That would be hilarious. Watch Brock get jumped at odd hours of the day and just destroy people while they fucking attack him while he's eating cereal or some shit. That would get a pop out of me. Dude, I would love Brock as the 24/7 champion. Just him getting like jumped by jobber after jobber and just killing person after person. Like he's getting pissed off because he's trying to hunt. You know, and they're freaking scaring the deer off, and he's beating the hell out of fucking Heath Slater out in the woods. Like, have him do something like that, man, because that would be gold, dude. But either way, yeah, Brock's gonna apparently cash in or announced his cash in next week on Raw, so that's why we need to tune in. And then that was your show. That was the show. It was a fairly good show. Like I said, man, we got good matches in there. Most notably going to be Ricochet and Cesaro, and then I would say the Usos and the Revival. You had the Firefly Funhouse, you know, still egging us on there, and then the 24/7 title. I say about how it looks. That really added to the programming. It felt like a fun show, man.
It did. I enjoyed it. Like I said at the end, I would have fell asleep, but that's because, you know, my alarm goes off early.
Yeah, man. It was good, dude. It was good. Can't wait to watch SmackDown just to see what goes on with that 24/7 title. I know that's going to be fun. I've been watching R-Truth on social media. He's killing it. I know we've been kind of dry on questions.
We got one more.
I got like two over here.
Okay, I got one, but it's a SmackDown question, so we'll hold off on that one.
Yeah. Oh, you got one, but you said that's for SmackDown.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll save that for SmackDown. Let me see what I got over here. This is 90s and 2000s compared to today. We kind of answered that yesterday. We touched on attitude versus today's product. My brother. Oh, okay. Yeah, Kurt from Facebook asks, this would be another good one for you. Jumping you with these big questions, but comparing women's wrestling in particular from when you last watched wrestling in the Attitude Era compared to the women's wrestling you're seeing nowadays? Is that making Rob more appreciative of the women, or does he still rather the King moments, Jerry the King moments with the women?
Okay, this one I can answer. This one I haven't.
It's a very political question, Rob. You need to think hard about this answer.
No, I don't even have to think about this one because, like, my wife and I actually talk about this one.
Okay.
In the Attitude Era, we talked about Lita on the last show. She actually wrestled well. She did the flipsy doozies and blah blah blah. She was an actual wrestler, and she was. We appreciated her style. But then you had like Trish Stratus, and you had what was her name, Jacqueline, and then you had
Jackie.
Well, she could wrestle too. I won't put her in the category I'm about to use.
Molly Holly was severely underrated back then.
Molly Holly was. No, I view Molly Holly as kind of more post Attitude Era because I never seen Molly Holly. She kind of
her finishing move was like a senton. She did a front flip off the top rope to a standing opponent and landed ass first on him, dude. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I know who she is. I know her style. It's just like that was kind of after I got out of it.
Okay.
Women back then were seen more as a sex object. They were seen more as a draw. Just like
it was easier for them to be a prop than
valid. Like Miss Kitty at whatever pay-per-view it was. And I always remember this.
She was pure sex symbol.
It was in Detroit. They had the mud wrestling match, and she pulled her top off, and she went 100% topless. I loved it back then. This is probably the only thing I don't like more about the Attitude Era than nowadays. But nowadays, women are pushed because they can wrestle. They earn titles. They do the moves, and they do the holds, and they draw cards. Back then, they were a sex object.
Dude, some of them do better than the men. I think Charlotte, if you're going to talk I don't know, top 10 performers, regardless of male or female, I think Charlotte's arguably one of the top best wrestlers in the world. When you assess the total package of it between in-ring ability, promo ability, style, everything, longevity, everything she's got, I think really puts her top 10 current wrestlers in the world. I'll always say that. As much as I value and I love other female wrestlers more than Charlotte, if you were to put a gun to my head and say who's the best female to do it ever, it's probably Charlotte. You know what I mean? That. I see why she's got a following. Absolutely. I mean, she's effing amazing.
She's definitely there. She's definitely up there.
Yeah, right. I'm trying to think because Lita and Trish, they get a lot of spotlight for what they did because they were the crossover. The women that were able to rise above being sex props and sex objects, although they were still held in that light with Lita's, live sex show and Trish barking like a dog. So it wasn't like that they didn't have to go through too, but they were able to get it in the ring. And then not to mention, they were the first women to main event Raw. That was the thing. That was where you'll get that famous clip of Lita scorpioning herself. She does a dive through the middle ropes to the outside and just eats it face first on the ground and contorts all terrible. It was nasty. They put themselves through hell to get to that shit. And now you have arguably probably the most complete and full roster of women that can go to that degree. Almost across the board, you have the entire female roster nowadays can go. It feels like it takes some of the shine off. This is a sport that evolves. It's something that they inspired. If you ask all of the women that are on the current roster, who their influences were, Lita and Trish are probably going to pop up on the majority.
Right. Yes.
You know what I mean? And then not to mention you got you still have Mickie James, who was doing it back then. She's still doing it nowadays.
Right.
Yeah. So I think honestly, man, probably from back then, it's easier to say that they were just objects, but there was a couple,
yes.
that really laid a foundation.
Yes, they had the talent. It's just they weren't used for the talent.
Right. But they showed if you fought for it, man, you fought for it. You know, nowadays, if you're a girl and you want to be a prestigious wrestler, you have the opportunity to do it. The world accepts you now, and it didn't back then. And I think that's the big difference.
Right.
Well, anyways, we'll end with that inspiration. Raw once again was pretty good, and I guess we're gonna have to get back to you on the next episode when we cover SmackDown. Rob, you got anything for these people?
Nope, we said it all, man. I'll be honest, I got some stuff on SmackDown, but we'll save that.
We'll see how that goes, right? We'll see. Anyways, once again, make sure if you're on YouTube, give us a like, subscribe, share it with your friends. Really get the word out there, man. We're trying to build this thing up. We love talking to you guys, and we really want you guys to talk back to us. So if you're supporting us now early on, really the most praise goes to you. Thank you so much, sincerely. Otherwise, like I said, hit us up on Twitter. If you have any questions for us about the SmackDown episode, drop us it on Twitter at, once again, at the Kai Tai Show or at Smacked Raw Pod. And then you got Rob, of course, at 2 words, can't see me. Make sure to drop us questions for the next episode. Thanks, everybody. Good night.